You are listening to Peak One Sports.
Happy Saturday and welcome to this edition of the Leadoff on the Peak One Sports Network. Heard every Saturday morning live on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton Nix, and joining me again for the second straight week, host of the Bungalow Sports Show, Cole Rambo. What's going on, Cole?
Oh man, it's just another early California morning. It's dark outside. I've got my Modesto More Than Just Murder hat on. I'm ready to go. Got some hot coffee, and I'm psyched to be here.
I felt very anticlimactic after the intro I gave you last week. I'm like, here's
Well,
Cole
no,
again.
see, so today the difference is last week I was a guest. This week
You're
I'm
a co-host.
a co-host.
Yeah,
right?
man.
So I don't get that big intro this time because I'm supposed
You
to
have
be
a
here.
bigger square. Well, maybe the square is about the same size, but you're in Landon's old place.
Okay.
But I gave you a full square. Landon doesn't, or
Oh.
rectangle. Landon doesn't get that yet.
Yeah, I got that little extra 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah, Landon and Tony are doing the Lord's work today. They're at a charity event.
Oh, fantastic.
I used to do a local. It was online radio, but it was a local station, and
Yeah.
we were talking. Every time somebody was out, we would always just come up with the most random crap, just try to embarrass them or whatever. Like, yeah, Steve's out, has a colonoscopy tonight, or something like that. I don't think that works on a Saturday morning, but I guess you never know.
We got him out in the Peak One Sports van down at Petco. Kicked
Yeah.
Tony in the nuts for a free tickets to the to an Astros game.
We should see that. We should just say stuff randomly and see if Petco calls us and like, do y'all let's see how far the reach goes.
Yeah, they're out there with the prize van at the Best Buy.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. Listen to all the great Peak One Sports content. I'll tell you, if you are a Spectrum subscriber, if you have them for TV and you can't watch ESPN right now, I promise you we'll never have that issue with Peak One Sports.
Hell no.
It's always going to be free, whether it's on YouTube. We can move this to Facebook Live. We can move this to our website. We can do whatever we want. So if you just want to get off that big network kick and talk talk sports on Peak One Sports, you can come in over here. We have all the great shows. Your show, the Bungalow Sports Show, Fight Night, Sports Page. We have a lot of shows here, plus live sports with Friday Night Football.
Heck yeah.
So go ahead and get on our kick. Speaking of Friday Night Football, this Friday we have a Texas high school football. I'll say doubleheader because they're both games are at the same time, but a double dose of Texas high school football.
Yeah.
So for the Friday Night Football will return.
So you guys are gonna have both streams going on at the same time?
Yes. Dan and myself will be doing the Chisholm Trail LD Bell game, and like you heard not last week, but the last game, Ross and Tony will be doing Saginaw and Denton Ryan.
Nice.
So yeah, two games for the price of one. It's free, like I said, so all the same.
The best price in the world.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, no, man, and like I said last time, for your guys' maiden voyage, it pretty much went off without a hitch. You know what I mean? And it's just gonna get better from there. So even over here, halfway across the country, it was enjoyable for me because I just like watching football. If you're not from Texas and you are not aware of the spectacle that is high school football, because we have high school football here in California.
It's big in California too.
I mean, big is a
Talent
relative
wise,
term.
a lot of talent.
Yes, talent wise, yes. But as far as like the showmanship, as far as the presentation, as far as just the stadiums itself, you know what I mean? Like that was enough for me to want to tune in. Is just to see how it's an event. It's a weekly event that is more than just going to a dirt track with a couple field goal posts, which is what it is, most of the time here in California. But it's pretty cool, you know what I mean? And it's literally like more of a spectacle than most of our college or junior college football games are, at least around where I'm from. So it's pretty fun to watch. It's as professional as it can get for a free broadcast on YouTube. So I suggest you tune in if you got nothing going on a Friday evening.
Yeah, knock on wood. We've been talking. This has been a big project all summer for us, and
oh yeah, I bet.
we're like, here's an issue, and we were like, okay, once we start, we know there's going to be other stuff that come along.
Sure,
and
but you just gotta iron it out, as it goes along.
Really, on our end, there hasn't been. Again, knock on wood. There was a couple of issues with the stream on their end,
right?
But as far as we go, like we're waiting for something to happen and being able to just go through it.
But all that comes with your guys' preparation, and obviously, like you said, you've been prepping for it all summer, and it showed in the first broadcast, so it can only get better. So
yeah,
tune in.
Yeah, Ross is a complete pro. He does a great job. Some of the issues we had, he just ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They got issues on professional broadcasts. You know what I mean? Like, and so you can't expect perfection all the time, and it doesn't really matter because, like you said, it's a free broadcast. You guys, we're all just trying to get you guys some content out there, and maybe not have to go sit out in the 100-degree weather watching a football game. You can sit back at home and support these kids and watch some decent football.
You bring up the next thing I was talking about. Speaking of high school football and 100-degree weather. So last night we went to Six Flags. The family did. It was kind of nice because it was a corporate event. It was like a company picnic. I'm not going to say the company, but it was like a big government contract or whatever. That my neighbor works for, and they're going to Europe this week, so they couldn't go. So they posted on the Facebook neighborhood page, and we got the tickets, and they were free, and the lines were relatively short. It was like you get in line, and there were two
because they
two
bought
rides,
a park or whatever.
Yeah, 2 rides, and then we were in. And it was our kids' first time ever going to a theme park like that. They've been to like carnivals and stuff. Because we haven't been in probably 10 years or something.
Right.
It's been a long time, but I underestimated and overestimated what they would do on the rides. I thought my oldest son, because we go to water parks, he rides all the big slides and everything. We thought he'd be more into the big rides, but there were a couple that he just like, I can't do this. And when we got to the front, I said, that's fine. We didn't have to wait in line for 2 hours, so I'm not mad about it or anything.
Right.
I'm not going to say you have to do this.
Get on there.
Yeah, and then like we went to the Looney Tunes land part of it and rode the small rides, which he was too big for. He couldn't even ride by himself. He had to ride with his little brother. So we were just kind of taking turns riding, and then we got on some of the bigger rides that our 5-year-old, who's small for a 5-year-old, could still get on. And there were some that like family rides. Like I don't even remember. I know I've ridden them, and like I have no idea what this is. I can see there's kids smaller than him, so I'm like, it's all right. And we get on one, and it's kind of fast. It's jerking you around, whatever. And me and my older son are in the front cart, and they're in the back. And I just keep turning around, like, you're all right. He's questionable looks, but he's like, yeah, this is all right. And then it gets fast for a second, and then we start going up, and we can see like the little awning of where we came in the line. We're like, all right, it's over. But we get to the top, we're like, this is not the end of it. There are mannequins in here.
Not over.
And then it just drops straight, and then we go in this tunnel, complete darkness for. Right. I'm worrying about him. So to me, it felt like 10 seconds. It was probably like 2 seconds.
Right.
And then it stops, and like we're coming up to the end. I turn around, like expecting him to be bawling his eyes out because we were like, it's over. And then he's like, he's still concerned look, and he's like, okay, that was different.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let's ride that again at the end, and it was pretty fun. But the point I was
never know how they're gonna work, how they're gonna pan out when they go on them for the first time.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like I don't know how familiar most people are with Six Flags over Texas, but they have like the Batman ride and those are the big rides, and Texas Giant and things like that. We didn't really ride any of those because I was just like, we're gonna start here and work your way up because you've been on carnival roller coasters. That's completely different than this,
right?
And I was surprised because he'd go We went to a water park and we went to Branson, Missouri, and he was riding like the drop slides. I don't really want to ride those.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I want to ride those. And he's fine with them. And I was surprised that there were a couple that weren't really big. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. You're like fine in line. You get up there. You're like, oh, this is kind of scary.
Well, there's something about, because we have, had, just like everything good in California, everything slowly closes down. Our Six Flags,
there are good things in California.
Our local Six Flags is actually, this is the last year, Six Flags Great America. It's closing as well in Milpitas, California.
That's sad.
And I don't know if that's what that attributes to, if it's just popularity waning, if it's everything else, or like it's literally part of the parking lot of Levi Stadium now. So like I think they might just be paving it over to make more parking for that place, because I don't know if you've heard the horror stories of trying to get out of Levi Stadium after a Niners game.
I've heard horror stories about that stadium, not the parking.
Right. Well, anyway, so we don't go. I went there a lot when I was a kid, and then now like my son, ever since we went his first trip to Disneyland, like here is like they have the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is like the old Tower of Terror. So it's just like a drop thing, right? And like the first time we went, like I hadn't like been to Disneyland since I was like his age, the first time I took him. So like a lot of the newer stuff I had never even been on, right? Like there's two parks there now. It's Disneyland, and then there's California Adventure across the street, right? And all the new Marvel stuff is in California Adventure, and I hadn't seen it, so I was like, yeah, let's go on. And he's like all about Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'm like, let's go. Boy, was that a mistake, because I think I just ruined him for trusting me to go on any ride ever for the rest of his life. It's just because it's just straight one of those elevator drop rides, and like, he was so little that the seatbelt's not super tight, so I'm holding on to his forearm, and he's I'm like, I feel like I'm literally, as we're dropping, I'm holding him in the air because like the gravity's just picking him up. And then like when you come out of the ride, you go right, classic Disney style, you go right into the gift shop, and like you go in, and like there's so much stuff that on a normal time he'd be wanting to buy all of it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you want to get anything? And he's just like, no.
That's bad. That's like you're like trying to bribe him. Let's buy
go sit down.
Yeah,
I want to go sit down. I'm like, oh crap. And then we've been to Disneyland like 2 times since then, and he's like, he won't even doesn't even want to walk near the ride. He's just like, as soon as we went with friends last time, and people were like, hey, who wants to go on this one? Who wants to go on that one? We'll go get in line. He's like, I'm not going on that one. I'm not going on it. And
there was a ride in Looney Tune Land. It was kind of like, it just goes up and down. Not really all that tall. There were a couple of rides that they were the same height, but it doesn't go up and down, so it seems a lot higher. And they kept getting in line, and then the younger one wanted like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I was trying to encourage him because my older son wanted to do it, but he was too tall. He couldn't ride by himself. He had to, once you're a certain height, you have to be accompanying a smaller kid.
Right.
Which is, I guess, to keep the traffic down on the little kids' rides. I don't know.
Sure.
So I'm like, it's okay. And then he keeps going in and out. And then it wasn't a long line, but we were like, okay, if we can just get him strapped in before he changes his mind again, that's all that matters. And we were kind of waiting. He got strapped. And he's like, I don't want to do this. He's about to start bawling. We're like, no. It's okay. Like, just start the ride. He's going to like it.
Right.
And then he goes, and like every time it drops, he looks like he's about to lose it. And then it stops and goes up, and he smiles. It was just back and forth. We're like, oh my, and he ended up liking it.
That gut in your chest feeling isn't for everybody sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I feel like it's for me until I'm on a ride and it's a deep drop. I'm like, okay, I don't like it. Hurry up, quit dropping.
As I get older, because I used to love all the rides. I was equal opportunity, man. I loved all rides. But now that I'm old, dude, my equilibrium is gone, man. And like, I get freaking sick on shit now. And I'm like,
well, some of those rides, like, I have to fit on, and my legs, I have long legs, and I can't. And like one of the train rides or something we were on, I know they all last like 40 seconds max.
Right.
But my leg got a cramp and I couldn't extend it. I'm like, oh, this is so miserable. I just didn't want this ride to be over. My leg is cramping.
Yeah. No, that like all the new rides where it's like part roller coaster, part 3D screens in front of you and stuff. Like we went to
Yeah.
Universal and like the Harry Potter ride, and it's super cool. But it's like you go around on this track inside this big building. It's like Hogwarts, but then every time you stop, or there's like a big screen. And I got off of that, dude, and I was just like, am I old, or was that just vomit inducing, man? And it's like, I think I'm just old at this point, I guess. You start seeing my joints are fine, but my equilibrium is like, I feel like somebody just tapped my chin with one of those UFC gloves and I'd go to sleep, dude. Like, cause I just, it's not there anymore.
So my wife can't do the ones that spin around and things. So we went on it was a really small ride, little kid ride. But it didn't have the height restrictions. So my son wanted to ride like a boat that goes back and forth and spins. I'm like, all right. So I went with him, and she's like, I'm going to go sit over it because my youngest one's a mama's boy. He's like, no, Mom, you come. And she's like, I'm going to sit right there. Right. So she sat there. We get on the ride, and it was a pretty fun ride. And I got dizzy, so I know she wouldn't have liked it. We get off, and then I'm like, oh, there she is. She moved. She's on the phone. So we start walking, and then my kid beelines over to where she said that he was going to sit, because there's a lady there that kind of looked like her, grabbed her legs, looked up. We saw the horror on his. That's not my mom. And he turned around and couldn't find us. I could see him the whole time. I'm like calling him, Grayson. And then we finally got him, and he just, we had to carry him around. We took him to the gift shop. Gosh, he was crying. Yeah. We're like, no. He was embarrassed. Like, we've all done this before. Like I did that when I was a kid, and the lady was kind of mean. She's like, I'm not your mom, and walked away. I'm like, right. Like, don't think maybe I'm lost?
Yeah, that's a classic kid move right there, grabbing the wrong lady. Everybody's done that, I think.
Yeah, but we talked about high school football and how big it is in Texas, and you were talking about the parking lots of Levi Stadium. So in Arlington, you have Cowboy Stadium, the new ballpark, Rangers ballpark, Globe Life Field. Mm-hmm. And then I still call it the ballpark in Arlington, the old Rangers.
Hey, that was what was just going through my head right now, because I used to play like MLB on like PlayStation 1 when I was a kid, and that was my favorite park, because they'd be like, "Welcome to the ballpark at Arlington."
Yeah, even if it was Ameriquest Field and Globe Life Park, it's this ballpark in Arlington. And now it's Choctaw Stadium.
Yeah, there's like the Chiefs Lions game Thursday night. The Chiefs Stadium is now, it's like GEHA Field.
No, Arrowhead.
Like, no, that's Arrowhead.
It's Arrowhead.
You know what I mean? It's like Staples Center just changed their name, to Crypto.com Arena. And it's like, no, that's Staples Center. There's just a few places where it doesn't matter.
AT&T did it right at the Cowboy Stadium, because they were only the Cowboy Stadium for like a year. And then they changed it. Like, I think some people still call it Cowboy Stadium. I think more people call it Jerry World than anything.
Right.
But you have those three stadiums, Six Flags, everything all in this entertainment district where the parking lots are all. So when we leave, there's a Rangers game going on.
Right.
That's all we're going to mention about the Rangers game. Forget the Rangers. We're not going to talk about them at all. But their game is still in the middle of their game, and they're losing to terrible Oakland Athletics. Sorry if you're an Oakland fan. Yeah. So it was 6-3. It's not bad in the seventh inning, because we turned it on and they were singing "God Bless America" in the seventh inning stretch. But there were people leaving. I'm like, I know the Rangers are doing bad, and it was a terrible team, but come on. Right, they ended up losing anyways. But I'm like, but everybody's funneling out one way where, okay, we're leaving Six Flags. You don't get to choose where you go. You just wait till you get out, and then you figure out where you're going. Right. And then I see, I'm telling the kids, there's the ballpark. Look, there's the lights. And we get up, and like, it's the old ballpark. I'm like, why? I'm like, oh, there's high school football going on there. They every Friday they play some, whether it's an Arlington high school or somewhere, they always play football at the old ballpark stadium, because it's obviously transformed for XFL football and rugby and all kinds of stuff. But no, that's how big it is. We play in professional stadiums all the time. They just have we have the Stockton Ports, their minor league baseball team in Stockton right here, and it's pretty cool because they have a newer stadium. I mean, at this point, it's fucking 15 years old, but I'm old, so it feels new to me still. And the old one is in like the same parking situation as where I play hockey every week, and they repurpose that for high school baseball and like travel league and stuff like that. And I think it's cool. It's like, why let these old places, you got to repurpose them, because it's like
They're there. It'll
Yeah.
make a little kid feel cool playing in a stadium and shit like that. You know what I mean? And anyways, yeah, I did a whole diatribe about FIFA building shit all over the world and then leaving it to rot after the World Cup, and same thing with the Olympics. So I love it when all these old places actually keep getting used for things, you know.
I get worried about that because soccer is so popular right now that they're just building all these soccer specific stadiums, and MLS is expanding like crazy, and I'm like,
too fast.
Is it? Yeah, like I know it's popular, but it's nothing compared to any other major sport right now.
Well, it's just like the thing is with MLS in America and just soccer in general in America, it's like they've been having this trying to build this thing since the 70s. You know what I mean? Since like Pele joined a team,
it was probably more popular back then. They were filling out NFL stadiums,
and it's like the only difference now is they're bringing in stars that are still semi in their prime, when before it was they were past their prime and either retire or go to the MLS and get another paycheck kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it just, because of this whole messy stuff, you know, years back it was Beckham going to LA Galaxy and trying to do that, and it's been a slow build since the 70s, and now all of a sudden it's just like crazy gangbusters. And it's just like, my opinion, not to make it anything political, it's like I think they're harping on a section of society that are Americans that like don't want to watch football because it's too American. You know what I mean? They don't want to watch baseball because it's too American. So it's like, let's bring the European sport, let's bring in soccer, the sport of the rest of the world, and they're kind of hoping that lasts. You know what I mean? But it's one of the I don't know. It's just, why is it going to catch on now when it hasn't for the last 50 years?
I think it's been really popular in the USL and in the minor leagues, that maybe they're building up thinking, hey, I mean, that's why it's so popular around the world. Not only because it's easy to play, you just need a ball, but they have the academies, which even the MLS teams do have, but these, kids that are playing, I mean, these athletes that are playing in the World Cup for all these countries have been playing for their teams professional ball since they were 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and you talked about Messi. They were coming to play FC Dallas, and people were calling for it to be played at AT&T Stadium because it was sold out and tickets were like $3,000, and it was ridiculous, which that's good for the sport, but you kind of need a little consistency with that.
It's like the mortgage bubble.
Yeah, because like all those people who play it, they're not going to go to any other soccer game. And soccer's not, it's not all that cheap to go to a soccer game.
Yeah, you can't go from a $5 ticket to a $3,000 ticket in a year's time. You know what I mean?
And even like the CONCACAF, I can never say that. It's the North American, the CONCACAF, whatever, a tournament that the finals are always at AT&T Stadium and stuff. And they sell out for that. And I think it was like Real Madrid and another European team just played here, and it's sold out as well. But it's kind of like, it does better when it's not the locals. But it's
like, those are like the Super Bowl events of that sport that are popular. It's not, but it's like a regular a Cowboys versus the worst team in the NFL is going to sell out. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a totally different ball game when you're talking about popularity. And it's like, I'll always equate it to one of my best friends, Brian Lowry, future country music star. Go check him out. He's soccer and baseball his whole life, right? I grew up playing baseball with him. That's how we became friends. But he was a great soccer player. As soon as he got to high school and somebody asked him to be the kicker on the football team, what sport do you think he was playing instead of soccer?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like and then what did he do? He went to college on a scholarship to be a kicker on the football team. You know what I mean? So a lifetime full of soccer changed like that because he was offered to play the sport that everybody likes. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's every kid pretty much. Like, unless you were just a diehard, dyed-in-the-wool soccer, you know, your parents are European or, you know, whatever it is. In America, it's just never going to be that. It's never going to be that. I grew up my whole life wanting to be an MLS player. It's just like, yeah, if you're a great soccer player and that's how it ends up, it's like, no, but if you're a great soccer player, you're like, I want to play in the Premier League. You know what I mean? I want to play in Bundesliga. I want to play in the World Cup. It's never, I want to play in the MLS. It's, I'm pretty decent at soccer. I got a leg on me. Hopefully I can kick field goals for the varsity football team.
So yeah, like the best players in the world of any sport, they're just full on athletes.
Right.
You talk about Messi, he could probably go, you give him enough time in any other sport, he could probably go outside of maybe baseball.
Right.
The same, like LeBron James.
That's
they
always
joke
the
around.
argument.
He could go play football.
Right.
You give him
LeBron
enough
James
time
be the
growing
best
up.
tight end of all time. You know what I mean?
If he started from, just given his size and talents, if he started from high school, he probably could be one of the best tight ends of all time.
Or any sport, It's
and
like,
the thing is, when you're an athlete, it's one thing to be just good at soccer, but when you're just a great athlete, the other coaches are going to put, if you're, over 6'1", if you're a couple 100 pounds in high school, if you have any interest in sports, the football coaches are going to, especially in Texas, are going to pull you out. My younger brother, he was a pretty big guy in high school, had no interest in sports. He still doesn't, doesn't even care. He was even in middle school brought in to play football just because he was big. He's like, let's just, that's just how it works. And they don't make their way to soccer. U.S. has the players. We could be one of the, the best, just like in football. You just got to get them when
baseball. They're kids.
You got to put them in soccer, but the athletes don't play soccer. You pull them out other stuff.
It's like,
and it's not a dream. You don't, how you have it's game 7 of the NBA finals or loaded bases in game 7 of the World Series of the Super Bowl.
That's what
kids don't have those dreams when they're a kid, unless their parents are really into soccer. And maybe I've never thought, okay, penalty kicks in the World Cup or,
Right. Yeah. But that's 100% right. And it's just like me, I was a collegiate wrestler, and during high school, that's what it was. It was the heavyweights and the 215-pounders were just getting recruited by the football team every year, because when you're a heavyweight wrestler, it's a game of leaning and leverage, which is what you do when you're a lineman, right? It's all leverage, and it's all learning how to stand guys straight up and not let them, bowl you over and things like that. So it was a lot of the same techniques. And a lot of those guys, the next season, they came in the wrestling room, but it was basically just like training for the football season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and that's just because of pure popularity. You know what I mean? You don't get a lot of the accolades as like, I had my varsity letter as a freshman in high school. Do you think the chicks were beating my door down as a 112-pounder with a letter on my jacket? No. But if like I was a few inches taller and had a few more pounds and could catch a football, you know what I mean? Like that story would have been a little bit different probably. So, but everything being equal, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't like it when they try to force things down my throat. I love most sports. You can talk me into watching almost any sporting event. You know what I mean? I just love competition and things like that and strategy. So I've always been a soccer fan, but my son plays soccer right now, but he's no athlete. And I ask him every season, you sure you want to play? He's no good. But as long as he's having fun and he's getting out there, soccer's the place to be, because people don't take it as seriously here. You know what I mean? So there's not as many all the crazy parents are with the travel teams and shit like that. Like when it's rec league soccer around here, it's just trying to get your video game kid out in the sun and getting him breaking a sweat, I
bet you there is competition for soccer. Like if you got real serious and want to do like whatever the rec league, whatever the travel baseball version of it.
It's called Ajax around
here. But just your general leagues, if you want to, unless you're just completely uncoordinated or not an athlete, I bet you if kids wanted to be, they could be one of the better players.
And that shows you the differences in your baseballs and your footballs, who also have rec versus travel league teams around here. I played what you would call, rec league baseball my whole, up until I found wrestling. I played it for 14 years, and the parents were nuts. Yeah. And that was just rec league baseball.
And the coaches too.
Baseball. Yeah. And the coaches
too. Because every sport I've ever played, I played in the season and for the school. I was never any of that good or that serious. Like I never thought college or anything. Like I just do it. Yeah. Because you have to be in PE or athletics. I'll be in athletics. I'm fine with that. But nowadays, if you want to be serious with that, the coaches notice like, hey, you didn't play any summer ball. You didn't do any of this. You're like I'm not, and it affects if you get playing time and things like that.
Right. Well, Andy's got his first game of the season today, actually, at like 2:30, right? And he's got a new coach, and this guy's coaching 2 teams at once, a 12 and under and a 10 and under, and he's just taking it he's coaching the 8-year-olds the same way he's coaching the 12-year-olds, trying to teach them plays, trying to do all this stuff. And it's just like I said, my nephew's in the travel competitive team and he's 8, and they don't even teach him plays and things like that because they're 8 and they don't understand it yet. It's like get ball, kick ball. Like you're trying to focus their aggression and their competitiveness. You're trying to focus that rather than necessarily teach him the techniques of team play right now, right?
Yeah.
And this he seems like a nice guy, but he's got way too serious of an attitude for this, and this is the first league that Andy's been in where he's making him practice 2 times a week rather than 1 time a week. You know what I mean? Because it's not serious. Like this type of soccer, I'm telling you, this is about as low level as it gets. And it just so happens that one of the practice days, Andy has he has like a math tutor on Thursdays, right? And like he gets out right as practice starts. So it's like go from school to tutoring to homework to practice and all. And I don't want to burn the kid out, right? So it's like he's been practicing 1 day a week for 4 years in soccer. He can keep doing 1 day a week, right? And we told the coach at the beginning of the season. But now, a few weeks into practice, leading up to this first game, I notice he's starting to treat Andy a little bit differently because he's not coming to both practices, right? And it's just like, God damn it, dude. Like, you're going to ruin the little bit of fun this kid has doing this sport that, he's just out here for straight up fun and exercise. He's not Pele. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're going to ruin that little bit of fun because he's doing school on one of the, because we're choosing school.
Yeah, because it's like, what's more important? Soccer,
100%.
like his biggest glory in soccer might be competing in a state championship in high school versus, hey, I need a math tutor so I don't fall behind or whatever.
The kid won't be playing in high school. Trust me. Like I played baseball, like I just told you, for 15 years almost before high school. And I got cut freshman year. Yeah, because I came to tryouts late because of wrestling. The season was still going on, and my heart wasn't in it because I found a new sport that I loved. But it's like that. I played for over a decade and then got cut my first high school season. This kid is not gonna do that. Like he has other passions, he has other things. I just want to keep. If you watch enough of me on podcasts and especially sports related ones, you know how sports and competition and athleticism is important to me. I feel like it's important as a human, no matter what your passions are, whether it's for health reasons or mental health for me, you know what I mean? I love feeling the team camaraderie and all that stuff. Like that's all important to make you a well-rounded human being, which is why I always let him choose what sport he would like to do this year, but I would like him to kind of keep doing something.
Yeah.
Once he gets to high school, it's not like I'm going to force him to go try out for high school sports because you can still play rec league when you're in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if that's what it is, that's what it is. But yeah, so I'm kind of nervous about this game this afternoon for the first time. And it's just like, I shouldn't be nervous about my 8-year-old rec soccer league game, but it's like, I'm nervous for how he's going to feel afterwards.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just one of those things where people, it's fine to take things serious in a serious situation, but to me, it's not okay to take things serious in a non-serious situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For kids, you can tell like, hey, this kid's going to be good. You need to tighten up. Let's, some coaches just take their job too seriously because you guys what's the goal here? We're learning how to be teammates. We're learning discipline. There's a lot of things to learn. We're not, nobody's earning scholarships when you're 8 or 9 years old.
This coach specifically, you can come out the gate saying, my goal, I don't care about winning and losing. I just want everybody to have fun and learn and all this stuff. But then at the end of practice, when you're looking at a bunch of 8-year-olds saying, I don't think a lot of you are getting it.
That's okay because my son who he loves basketball and he plays basketball and he's got the size and everything. He's just not very coordinated. Maybe that'll kick in. But the coach understands. You're like, yeah, we're going to put him in. He's here to have fun. We get it.
Right.
And he yells at other kids a little differently, which is completely fine with me at their age.
Totally fine.
He understands, hey, he's not going for a scholarship here.
And that's, you got to differentiate as they start getting older and you realize who's there for what and who actually has because like you said, coordination wise or anything else, athleticism wise, you can tell from a young age. Like I can tell with these 8-year-olds. Andy has 2 cousins, twins that are playing on the team with him this year, and one of the twins is on par with Andy, and the other one is like sprinting around, he's having to get told not to slide tackle because it's illegal. You know what I mean? Like he's out there, and you're like, okay, that kid is an athlete. These other ones are out here for fun and exercise, and you got to treat them as such, not everybody the same. But anyways, let's talk about some professionals instead of these kids.
Yeah, no, seriously. In pure Bungalow Sports Show
fashion.
Well, at least we're talking about sports.
I guess.
Yeah,
so, right?
Real quick, let's jump to our sponsor, Betalytics. The NFL season is here. Don't bet with your gut.
I'm going to use them this weekend. First time I'm actually going to use them. I'm betting on football.
And we're going to have a prop bet for Sunday Night Football coming up. Just follow us on our social media accounts. The Betalytics dashboards allow you to quickly identify top-graded best bets and hottest trends. Betalytics uses AI machines to learn the algorithms and create accurate game simulations, player prop projections, betting line evaluations, and best bet recommendations. Use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off when you sign up today. Go to Betalytics.com to start betting smarter.
And to say I'm going to use them for the first time, I'm talking about me. Joseph, Alexis, these guys both bet on other sports all the time. They have been using it. I don't want to be that guy. I've been promoting them for so long now.
Yeah.
I haven't even actually used them. No. The Bungalow family has been using. I am just terrified to bet on anything but UFC or football. So being how football's just starting again, I am having my first opportunity to use them. So that's what that meant. But so I don't want to. I hate people who sponsor shit that don't actually take part in the event itself.
And I get in trouble with football because I feel like I know football better. And we've already talked about it. It doesn't matter what you know. It's about running the numbers. A professional, degenerate gambler could out-gamble me in anything, even if he doesn't know about it. Mm-hmm. Like he's just like, here, just let me study the numbers real quick. Let me look at that and see.
That's Alexis. You know what I mean? Alexis, like I was telling you last week, like he doesn't even watch basketball. But he is a very successful basketball gambler because of the numbers and him studying the numbers, and he'll tune in if he wants to get in on the live odds. You know what I mean? Just because he wants to see what's going on. But I only bet on things that I watch, and sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah, jumping into some of this. Well, I guess you can technically call this professional. I mean, college football players are getting paid now.
100%.
But Coach Prime in his Colorado coaching debut.
Oh, yeah.
That was interesting.
It was beyond interesting to me. I know there's still tons of naysayers because they're like, TCU was in the damn national championship last year. You can't take too much away from what Colorado did. I know they don't have Max Duggan. They've lost a few pieces and things like that. Their secondary is iffy, but it's like, you gotta, the haters, it's like they're gonna hate no matter what, but it's like you gotta give some kind of credit where it's just like, this dude's been saying he's gonna do this all off season, come out of the gate and do exactly what they said they were gonna do. Their defense can step it up a little bit, but it's like his son going out there and just being naysayed all summer and then throwing for 512 yards. 4 receivers with over 100 yards. Travis Hunter with 2 touchdowns and an interception, 3 touchdowns and an interception, whatever it was. It was just mind-boggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was so cool. And I don't know how you can hate on a guy like it's fucking Neon Dion, dude. Like what? Of course he's gonna say what he's gonna say, and he's gonna do what he's gonna do. And of course, in the press conference afterwards, anytime a reporter who talked crap in an article, of course they're not going to get a word in edgewise. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was a great game. And you mentioned 4 receivers, 100+ yards. Colorado had 3 receivers last season with 100+ yards in a game.
Right.
All of a sudden, his son is a Heisman candidate, which that may cool off. I don't know. You can't get overhyped about it, but it was a Power 5 conference. A team that was in the national championship last year. They weren't playing.
You can't overlook it. You can't. And
they
I know
weren't.
People are trying to.
Texas was playing Rice. Georgia was playing Tennessee Martin. I mean, they came out and played a team ranked higher than them
Oh yeah.
And then they're playing Nebraska today. They're playing 2 Power 5 non-conference games.
And I think they're going
right
to
off
smoke
the bat.
Nebraska too.
I think so too. Yeah, Nebraska, I mean, is not a great team. They've been down for a while, but they're not, they're not playing these. I don't even know a smaller school in Colorado other than Colorado State. They're actually playing decent teams.
And they're going to all season. And I don't expect them to go undefeated, obviously, but it's like to come out of the gate the way they're coming, it's like you can't deny it. You know what I mean? It's pretty remarkable.
And I'm not a big trash talker. I'll have fun with it. But if you trash talk me constantly and tell me this may be the worst roster in college football history, they're not going to do great. This has never worked. You can't just clean out a roster. If you trash talk me and downplay this and then I come out and win, hell yeah, I'm going to trash talk it. I don't care if Deion Sanders can say whatever he wants right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why my thing is like, it's Deion Sanders, dude. Like, you remember who we're talking about. It's like, he was the man. He still is the man. Like, and it's like, of course he's going to be that guy. And it's like, they could have went out there and lost, but even if they had a good showing in a loss, his attitude would have been similar to even with the results that they had. But I mean, when they go out, what I'm just anxious to see when they go out and they kick the shit out of Nebraska. What are people going to say that, this coming week? It's going to be like, Matt Rule, not what we thought he was, I guess. He wasn't the guy to turn that place around. And it's just like, shut up. Like, it's been Colorado beat him to the turnaround. Like, Nebraska was supposed to have their big turnaround and relive their 90s glory days. You know what I mean? And it's like, Colorado beat them to it. Like, and that's just it. Nebraska is a team that they're just that team right now that just finds a way to lose. And now I think they have that coupled with a team that's going to come in there and ready to stomp on their necks. And what are we going to say? Well, they're just going to say Nebraska sucks this week. They're not going to say Colorado's good again. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. Deion's been ruffling feathers ever since he was at Jackson State. And then a lot of people are like, oh, this is great. He's bringing more awareness to the league. And then he leaves and everyone, criticizes him for it, but he brings a lot of players, including his son. And then it's still bringing, more news towards Jackson State and the league,
of course,
because they're talking about former Jackson State players just balling out. And
look at how these guys are performing where people said they couldn't perform, and it is good because Travis Hunter, I mean, obviously you can't have that game every week, but that guy is more of a Heisman hopeful than you've ever seen after week 1 of college football. You know what I mean? A two-way guy that is just dominant. He's the number 2 ranked guy on defense and the number 2 ranked guy on offense right now, like as far as college football goes. And it's his first year in the big boy league. You know what I mean? And I think that's more of an advertisement for, Jackson State or the lower level college football to say like, no, we got guys who can play too.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to know that you're only going to get shine. You're only going to get, NFL looks if you're in the big show. So to say that, oh, you left everybody high and dry, Jackson State and this lower level league and stuff, it's like, no, because this is for the kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about prime. It's not about Jackson State. It's not about what league you're playing in. It's about getting these kids the looks they deserve. And when you throw for over 500 yards, it don't matter if you're Deion's son. It don't matter if you're Travis Hunter, who's never played for a Division I team or whatever like that. It's like, no, they obviously deserve the publicity they're getting right now, and they weren't getting it before. So this is the way to get them paid, dude. And that's what this is all about. There's no reason to play sports into your adulthood at that level to not have a paycheck at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, you might as well just be in the dirt league with me, because it's like, why put your body through what you're going through at Jackson State when you may not even get drafted from Jackson State? You may have to go be a walk-on somewhere and fight for your spot on a big league team. And it's like, no, if you're at Colorado and you perform the way they performed last week, those guys are getting drafted. That whole fucking team should get drafted after that performance last week. It's like,
and
I don't know.
And now in the days of the transfer portal, how much are these Division I colleges going to look more towards those teams. And and Dion leaving, I guess the coaches typically, I mean, that's what you do. You coach, you get a job where you can get a job. You coach smaller schools and you move your way up. A lot of coaches don't do that, and that's fine. It's just what's kind of your goal. And Deion Sanders being Deion Sanders, he's, he wants to go coach, not coach at Alabama, but he wants to coach big time college football.
And whatever his goals may be personally, again, like, college football is all about getting kids looks by big league teams. You know what I mean? And like, his best shot at getting his team into the NFL, getting as many of his kids into the NFL is being at a big league school, So it's like, whether his goal is to keep moving up the coaching ladder or not, this is also a trajectory for the kids that are playing under him, And like, you're sitting at home on your couch on recruit day. Would you rather hear a speech from Nick Saban or a speech from fucking Deion Sanders? Like, give me a break, dude. Like, come on. Like, that's what I'm looking at. It's like, of course you're going to want to hear, you want Deion Sanders sitting on your love seat, dude. Like, get out of here. And I think it's great all the way around.
Yeah. And he took over a bad Colorado team.
Right.
I mean, the bottom, I want to say bottom 10 in what is it? FBS. Yeah. They change it all the time. I don't know.
I know, but yeah, I think it's cool. I think it shows a different light than the kind of the old, college football. As many changes that they made in the last 5 years, it's continuously kind of the old boys club. You know what I mean? And you've got your Dabos that should be eating crow right now. Who, I don't want to coach when kids are getting paid. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then look what happens to that team. It falls apart just as quick as he built it up,
Yeah. Staying in college football, Caleb Williams, star quarterback, USC, could stay at USC next year if the team that's picking first is in a bad situation, according to his dad.
Well, I think that's a if the Cardinals are number one, we're staying at USC. That's basically.
I mean, are the Cardinals over Kyler Murray? I mean, they owe him a lot of money.
Oh yeah. No. I think in this day, I mean, you'd have to give somebody that much money and still have there be rumors that he's just not going to play all season, not just the whatever. Because isn't he another guy who's on that PUP list with the first 4 games or whatever? He's out,
I mean,
no matter
this
what
may
right
be
now.
my Madden GM mind thinking, where your quarterback, you're going to pay your quarterback. If you're able to draft a franchise quarterback, you're paying him within a few years. So they're not in the position I don't think you want to draft that quarterback just yet, because you're going to be a few years where Kyler Murray's going to be on your depth chart or on your salary cap. So maybe draft other players, build your team around, and then when you get that off and you're going to have the number 1 pick again, go out and get whoever number 1. I don't know that Caleb Williams is, I mean, obviously he's the best quarterback this year, but is he like, he's not looked at as a general.
Shedeur Sanders is, bro.
Well, yeah, no, seriously.
Well,
yeah, but he's still projected to go number 1, 100%, and 100%. It's not like Trevor Lawrence or it's like a once in a lifetime or once in a generational type player. Like, do you really want to? Yeah, and for sure his dad's obviously talking about the Cardinals, but for one, okay, every prospect thinks this. Right. You don't say it.
Right.
And your dad doesn't. Your dad doesn't say it either. It's like a Lonzo Ball situation. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard a lot from his dad talking trash or anything.
Well, we're in the era of parents talking for their kids in college sports now, apparently, because that seems to be more happening more and more. But let me ask you this, your opinion on this, because this is something I always talk about, is because it's a big what if and how the NFL would look over the last 2 decades. Is it better to just say, hey, I'm staying in college again because I don't want to go to this team? Or is it better to be Eli Manning and get drafted by the Chargers and say, I'm not going to the Chargers? You know what I mean? Like, and then having them trade Phillip Rivers for you to go to, and blah, blah, blah. And that's pretty humiliating and shitty.
I'd rather them just come out and say it. Honestly, being a Cowboys fan and listening to Troy Aikman when they do Cowboys games, sound like he completely hates the Cowboys, but still goes to Cowboy stuff. And my thinking is, oh, he's just trying not to be a homer. And then Tony talks about like, no, I think he really hates the Cowboys, how they treated him his last couple of years.
Right.
You want to believe as a fan that your quarterback or your star player loves it there and enjoys it. And honestly, I'd rather them just come out and say it than the Chargers have Eli Manning and it just not work out and you waste a few years. And then I know they didn't win a championship with Phillip Rivers, but he was happy there and they got a franchise quarterback. You don't want Eli Manning to play there and be like, I'm just not re-signing in 4 years. You know?
100%. I just thinking of the comparison, I always just wonder what is best for the player and what's best for the team is just like when they're still in college saying, I'm not coming out because I don't want to get drafted by this team, or
again,
let the Cardinals draft me and then trade me before
again, being the GM I am, I'd rather them just come to the NFL because if you have that number one spot, that makes it that more valuable. You don't want to water it down and be like, okay, the number one pick's not coming.
Right.
Because even if you're not going to take it,
you break your femur next year because you stay back at UFC again. You know what I mean? It's like
no, for sure. From the quarterback stand, if I'm the player, I'm going pro. I know they're getting paid now. Arch Manning's getting paid multi-millions of dollars to be a third-string quarterback. But from a GM, a coach, a fan, let them come because if you don't want to draft them, I wouldn't draft the next best player. I would trade back. Just stack up those draft picks.
Yeah,
and it just makes that pick less valuable if Caleb Williams doesn't come out.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't know what the rules are, but I've always thought about this. Right, in a situation like an Eli Manning situation, that and then the Caleb Williams thing's going on right now. When you're in college, and they always say, "Oh, he's declared for the draft or whatever," right? He's not coming back. He declared for the draft. Why can't you just declare to be a free agent? Like I'm not going into the draft. I'm gonna wait till the draft's over and then I'll just come in as a walk-on and whoever wants to, you know what I mean? Can they do that? Like how does that work? Like there's plenty of guys who go undrafted and then go get invited to training camp.
Because it's always like breaking news when your team signs your first round pick. Like, yeah, what if you don't?
What if Caleb Williams said, I'm not gonna be in the draft, but I'm here. I'm available for training camps. And
that's a good question. I don't know.
Like, why can't they do that? I feel like running backs should do that now with the state of the running back situation.
Yeah.
And the pay, first you obviously get in there on a rookie contract and you're fighting for 3 years to get that big one. Why don't guys just come out and say, okay, I'm not going to get a draft contract. I'm going to go to these training camps. I'm going to let a team invite me to their camp. I'm going to show out in camp, and then I'm just going to get a player contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this is where the agents come in to really, talk them out of something like that. Like, I'm sure there's something in the fine print that they have your signing rights for a certain amount of time where you can't go sign with anybody else.
Okay.
But at the same point, look at what happened with Colin Kaepernick. I mean, completely different situation. We're not going to get into why, but there was obviously collusion going on. Like, nobody wants to sign him. Like, I don't think Colin Kaepernick was a great quarterback at that point. No. And definitely when he did his tryouts a couple of years ago, like, but is he worse than every other backup quarterback in the league?
No, but the thing is,
he's not, but nobody wanted to sign him or do anything. And I know on his end, he got this settlement with the NFL and he probably wasn't going to sign with it. It was all for the cameras or whatever.
It was all other shit. But I think if skill in professional sports weighs out over everything, right?
Yeah.
And you can be Ray Rice and punch your girlfriend in an elevator, get invited back the next year, and then not make the team because you're just not as good. You're not that much better than the next guy in line, right? You can be Ray Lewis and allegedly stab 2 people in a limo and then have a statue built of you outside of that stadium years later. You know what I mean? So it's like you can be Deshaun Watson and do some nefarious
or
things.
OJ Simpson. I know he was found innocent.
Get the biggest contracts of all time, but because you're so much better than everybody else at your position, it doesn't matter, right? So it's like with the Colin Kaepernick thing, yeah, there's a lot of cultural and a lot of crazy shit that went into that whole story, but it's like if his skill was undeniable, then it wouldn't have mattered. His skill is of a backup quarterback, and you don't want a guy you got to pay that much money and is going to be that much of a media and political spotlight on your team as your backup quarterback. You know what I mean? Because his skill level is a backup quarterback. but he's not that much better or worse or anything than Cooper Rush or any of these other guys that have come into games and shown out a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's like,
so as a player, I'm 100% like, let's say I've finished my college years, I have to go pro. I'm 100% saying I don't want to go there, even if they're going to draft me, because as you see with Eli Manning or even John Elway, that the teams aren't going to call your bluff.
right.
They're going to trade you. Maybe they draft you and then trade you or whatever, but they don't want to say, "Oh, I'm just going to." Players can't treat us like this. We're going to just draft a number 1 overall and then not have your number 1 overall pick.
Right.
I don't know. I just think that as emotional as players and GMs and coaches and owners get, I think that's gambling with especially a GM who in 4 years it's not their problem anymore. They're probably getting fired anyways unless they're doing a great job. That's basically on both ends almost career suicide. Like
Right.
trade, if he doesn't want to be here, pick somebody else or draft him and trade him, like in the Eli Manning situation. The other situation,
especially when
Eli
you're
went up there,
unproven,
put the hat on, held the jersey. He's like, I don't like this. They're going to take care of
Right.
this, but I'm not just going to complete. If they didn't trade him, I expect Eli Manning was going to be playing at that point, because you got to think of your career too.
Right.
Another team's probably going to take you because you're a franchise quarterback, but how many millions of dollars are you missing out on? Because some teams won't take you.
And obviously, in whether it's Eli Manning or Elway, it's like obviously they made the right choices, right? Because they got rings and Phillip Rivers has none or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like it really obviously we're not talking about the end results of these decisions, but it's always, it's kind of weird that there's a lot of these thoughts that go into the process, because it feels like it wasn't that long ago where it was just like, holy crap, I'm getting drafted to an NFL team. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what
Yeah,
the
or
logo
back in
is.
the USFL, AFL, whatever days,
Right.
where you're getting drafted by 2 leagues and one league's
Right.
just kind of, hope he comes here. We're just giving up our number 1 overall pick.
Right.
Real quick too, Mike Evans, he gave the Bucks today as a deadline for a new contract, and there are no new plans for a contract, or no new plans for a contract are set. I'm not sure what that means. What the ultimatum is if you put it today, does that mean he's gonna hold out? Are they calling his bluff? I don't know. It's weird that he said it as today, Saturday before week 1.
Right.
We'll see what that
Yeah,
entails.
it's obviously calculated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he put it
very
as today. It's not like, okay, well, next year I'm not. They're not going to play with their money like that. Where if you don't sign me by week 1, you can say screw it because I'm not going to re-sign with you at the end of the year. Like, well, if the money's right, you're going to.
Well, and it's like he's kind of got him by the short curlies, because like look at that roster right now. Like,
Okay, defense, but yeah, often. I mean,
they
they can say, hey, we're going to tank for Caleb Williams. Just hang
that
tight.
Name
Yeah.
on their roster this season, it's pretty scary for the Bucks.
But on the Bucks end, it's like, can we take advantage of this defense and build another roster, or it's like, well, good riddance, because we're maybe trade him or something, because we're not going to be good for a couple of years.
And not to stay on the Bucks tip, and I know I'm just like king of the dead guys because I can't get away from shouting out dead people every week on my show. Another Tampa Bay Mike died at a very young age this week. Mike Williams, not
Yes, yeah,
obviously not the Chargers Mike Williams, but the older Mike Williams that was a staple on my fantasy team for a couple of years. He passed away in a construction accident. A steel beam fell on his head, which is insane to me. Blake Bortles, watch out, dude. Blake Bortles out there in retirement, joining in with his construction crew on his new house. So wear that damn hard hat, Blake, because R.I.P. Mike Williams, dude. You got me some fantasy points a while back, and I'll always remember you.
That makes you think. I mean, I know in your area of construction, you never be on a site. Usually when a beam could fall on your head.
So I used to be in the Glazers Union.
Yeah.
And yes, I was on like big high rises in the Bay Area and San Francisco and San Jose and things like that, where situations like that could happen.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's rare. Very
That's
rare.
why it's a big story. I mean, I know it's because he was
And
a
for
former
somebody who's
NFL
not
player.
a construction worker, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? A 34-year-old ex-football player gets bashed with an I-beam. I want to know what the hell was going on, and why was, even if it was a building that he owned or something he was a part of, like, why was he there when they were putting an I-beam into place? They don't let guys who are on so like in glass work, when those big buildings, there's things called curtain walls. So like the whole side of a skyscraper is basically one giant window that is put together like an erector set and then attached to the side of a concrete building, right? So you're lifting these giant pieces of metal, these giant pieces of glass up in the air. When these things are happening, they won't let people within 50 feet of the bottom of that crane or whatever else is, whatever you're lifting up.
Sounds
what
like
the
a
hell's going on?
real Final Destination situation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an OSHA thing right there. How the hell are we going to kill Mike Williams? God damn it.
What state did this happen in?
I'm not sure. That's as deep as I went.
Yeah, because you say OSHA, I'm like, I wonder what state this happened in. That's
Yeah.
No, but it was funny because we were talking about you working construction, talking about an incident like that. So my brother-in-law used to send me like videos of weird Uber driver stories when I was an Uber driver on the side. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why do you send me this stuff? and now he's a truck driver, and I always send him Instagrams and TikToks of big truck wrecks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, just don't watch it while you're driving and you're all right. Yeah, in classic fashion. And then real quick before we go, we need to talk Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. We talked a little before the show. So on Hard Knocks, it's funny, every time we talk Aaron Rodgers Hard Knocks, it has nothing to do with football.
Yeah, I know, right.
He had this UFO story he talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know what prompts this, because it's not like it recently happened. Like,
why he talked about it?
Yeah, do you sit down there and before an interview and they're like, hey, we're going to roll the cameras and just tell us the weird story.
Did you watch Hard Knocks or no? You just saw the
I saw the interview on it. I watched some Hard Knocks. I haven't watched it.
Was because the guy whose house he saw it at showed up to practice that day.
Okay.
And it was one of his it was the guy he replaced at Cal at quarterback.
Yeah.
And they became like best friends or whatever. And he was at his house for dinner one night.
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, yeah.
That's when the incident happened. It's just funny to me, though, that people are calling this out as another crazy, Aaron Rodgers thing or whatever. But it's like we literally had a congressional hearing a couple weeks ago about, the revelation that unidentified flying objects are 100% real. And there's technology that we have no idea how it works that we've been trying to back engineer for the last 60 years.
Yeah, so not to go in a rabbit hole. I mean, we are on YouTube, and that's like the place of rabbit holes. Yeah. But if you want to think, unless you're like a flat earther or whatever, I don't know. Right. But like, if you believe the scientific story of how the universe works, mathematically, other life has to exist somewhere. Maybe they're too far to even be close in it. Like, cause if you, I don't even fully understand, but I know the faster you go, time doesn't work the same. And if you were able to see a telescope of something, a million light years away, you see it a million years ago or something. I don't even fully understand it, but that's how it works. So even, there's no technology to go to that.
No, as humans on Earth, we haven't discovered the possibility of anti-gravity engines yet.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then another plane of existence is available to you. So,
yeah, we could go all day long. I don't know if aliens have ever visited Earth or anything. I believe there's life somewhere. I don't know that it's intelligent life or whatever. So we get that. Like, if you think this is weird because, he believes in aliens, like, I mean, chances are that aliens have to exist somewhere, and just how many worlds and how big space is. And I've even seen like, hey, we send satellites out, unmanned thing, just satellites, and they're going to go on, and we may be extinct and they're still going, and it might crash land somewhere on a real planet a habitated planet. Like, what the hell is this? Something from some other planet a million years ago may have crash landed. It just doesn't mean there's little green people in them. But
no, but it also is like, there's things called black holes out in space, and we can observe them now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And looking through that, and the ability to travel, once you become sentient enough to discover the technology to be able to travel through a black hole. If you ever watch a physicist explain a black hole, it's very plausible that if you were able to get technologically advanced enough that you could get through one of those. And then if that is the case, then time is irrelevant, right? And when, if you're someone really thinks the whole concept of aliens visiting planet Earth is ridiculous, there's plenty of there's countless Air Force, Navy pilots, military people who over certain places in the world, and it's always the same: nuclear sites, military bases, places where combat's happening. There's these objects that have been in the sky, right? And people are their excuse is always, oh, well, it's just another country with some shit we don't know about yet. But if you listen to these people and how they treat them in a combat situation, right? There's planes and there's like, holy crap, what the hell is that? Do you know what? There's 3 countries in this world that could have maybe have something more advanced than us here in America, and that is Russia and China, right? So if you take those 2 out of the equation, there's no other country that's more advanced than us technologically.
Unless it's ours, and that's just what they're telling people.
Sure, but this is from an American, military standpoint. Pilots will sit there and they will see an object. And you want to know how they identify whether it's another country's or not? They wait till Russia flies up and start shooting at it.
Yeah. And
then they say, okay, well, that's not Russian. And then, oh, there's some Chinese fighter jets over this area, over the Atlantic. Well, they shot at it, so that's not Chinese. So it's like people aren't going to shoot at their own shit. And then once we see somebody else shoot at it, we start shooting at it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not ours either.
Yeah, with Russia and China having nuclear weapons. There's a reason why we don't just go up and shoot at things too.
100%, and it's like, so they see these crazy objects that defy what we know in the propulsion area, you know what I mean? And then we wait for these other countries that are the only other 2 countries that may be able to build something like that, and then they're shooting at it, so it's not theirs. You know what I mean? So it's like there's obviously a huge gray area, and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about either. But
and exactly, it's like you understand it, like you're talking from a point like I understand it, but I don't understand it at all. But we live in a time where everybody has to have an answer. They have to have an opinion. Right. I can talk about this subject, and to me, I'm like, you can't call me crazy because I'm not telling you one way or the other. I'm just saying I can talk about paranormal stuff. I have no idea. I am Christian, but I don't know about, like, people say, well, ghosts can't exist. This is this way, whatever. I don't know. I don't claim to know everything. I just like the subject because it's curiosity. And if you knew everything about it, no one would care anymore.
Yeah. And it's that same thing is like, if a religious person says ghosts don't exist, it's like, well, a lot of what you believe in predicates on the fact that technically ghosts exist. Right? Yeah. Or we'll call them ghosts, call them what you will, spirits, anything else like that. Like,
you could talk about religion. You can find any religion. 2 hardcore, very intelligent people, both that religion, believe different things. Not maybe the important stuff, like, everybody who's a Christian or Muslim, your important stuff. This is what you're supposed to do or whatever. Right. But there's little things that are blasphemy. If you're like, I don't know, that kind of sounds weird. Are you sure that that's real, or is that just a fable? Is that just an example of something, a story? And like, who cares if I say I don't believe, or it may be true. I have no idea. I don't have to believe this specifically. That has nothing to do with it. And that's the same way, like in conspiracy theories, I don't have to, I know that comedians, like, you think the government's batting 1,000? You think the government's not hiding anything?
Right.
And honestly, I think conspiracy theory, a lot of the more popular conspiracy theories are probably by the government just to, they look crazy and,
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I do believe or don't believe. I'll listen. We talked about before the show in politics, like, I'll listen to you, even if it sounds ridiculous.
Right.
tell me this might be interesting. And then sometimes,
and, some of the most ridiculous things end up being true 20 years later. You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like to write anything off that has any grain of truth or proof to it is really dumb, because it just makes you sound stupid later in life. But I was a big fan of Mythbusters. You ever watch that show?
Yeah.
So they would have a real big thing where possible or plausible. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to aliens, at this point in some of the technological advances we've had as humans over the last 20 years, and how that stuff just keeps getting faster and more exponential, we discover things faster, we create things faster. Of course it's plausible, with like what you said, the size of the universe, and not even the universe, the size of the galaxy, there's every star you look at in the sky is another sun with a possible, other multiple galaxies and universes attached to it. Of course it's plausible that we're not the only thing. And it's
saying we can only observe like less than 1% of it.
A grain of sand of it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and if you're talking about plausible, what's more plausible, that there's not aliens or there? And I'm not trying to convince anyone there's aliens.
But it's also like people, you say aliens and people think of gray people with giant heads and big black eyes, but aliens just means they're not from here, right? We call people from Mexico aliens. You know what I mean? So it's like
it could be
exactly like us,
or it could be
another place.
Microorganisms growing somewhere. That would be breaking news if they found. On Jupiter or one of the moons, like, hey, look, this is a living being. It's technically an alien. We're not talking about Independence Day.
But to use that word plausible, to think there's not another version of Ashton and Cole doing a podcast on some other Earth-type planet that's 10 billion light years away, that are just as advanced or more advanced or a little less advanced in their technology is it seems kind of ignorant to me to just flat out say that that's not possible. You know what I mean? So it's plausible, it's possible, and
if you can't prove until an alien comes here, or we get video evidence, some people don't believe, but until an alien walks up to the steps of the White House or whatever, and it's probably going to be a very violent confrontation, knowing human beings. But until that happens and people see it, or the big UFO goes over, it blows up the White House.
It's got to be with their own eyes.
Yeah,
that's always the thing that irks me too. Is like, dude, we got 4K cameras on our cell phones now. It's like, why is everything got to be grainy and shitty all the time? That's the part to me that is just like, well, if you really want people to believe this, why can't somebody get out a Samsung Galaxy and film that thing? Like, what?
yeah, seriously.
Why's it got to be a Razr phone from 2005? Like,
and it's fun to talk about and podcast about.
Yeah, and it's the only thing anybody can say about Aaron Rodgers anymore, because we all know he's good at football. So,
and I want to criticize people for that, but that's all we've done. We haven't mentioned one thing about football and Aaron Rodgers.
True.
No, but
Thanks
it's
for
fun.
The content, Aaron.
But if you can't, we get to, because of Aaron Rodgers, we could talk about aliens on the
it's
Peak One Sports.
Now.
But you can't prove it one way or the other, so you can't call somebody an idiot.
Like, I heard Caleb Williams' dad is going to come out and say that he's an alien next week,
and he would be the one to do it. No, man, I hope everyone's had their coffee. We're getting really deep here. Oh man. Sorry, I'm trying to be a producer as well.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're pulling double duty today.
Yeah, Cole, thanks for joining us here on the Leadoff. We're gonna let y'all get on with y'all Saturdays. Hopefully, we prepared you for your sports Saturday somewhat.
Yeah. Oh, tonight, Bungalow Fight Night Live.
We didn't even talk about that. Be sure to tune in here on.
I'll be fast. Yeah. Peak One Sports YouTube channel, dude. Tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, so we're talking 9 p.m. Central there. We're watching UFC 293, Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. We're doing the same thing. We had a great turnout last time. We got tons of subscribers, so I'm not going to hold ourselves to that same, that bar this time.
I will, though, so don't worry.
There was other factors that helped us garner all those subscriber numbers last time. But we are so close to 500. My goal tonight is I don't want to be disappointed, because hopefully we can get to that number. But let's try to get. All we need is like what, 25?
Yeah, 21, 22. I think.
I think we can pull that off tonight, people.
If 500's not 100, you're putting the shot collar on at 500.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I'll do it. If we get 500.
Oh my gosh.
Tonight,
please subscribe. Come on. This is the first time he said we're not doing it. My wife said no.
I'll sign the divorce papers now. If we can get 21 subscribers during our live show tonight and hit that 500 mark,
I'll wear the shot collar with you.
That shows how much faith I have. You know, the only time I've ever worn a shot collar, I fell asleep watching an episode of Angel at my buddy Nick's house, and he woke me up with his dog shot collar on my neck. And
I feel like we need to get more context on that story. That was just like, yeah, I just wore it. We were watching a show.
Yeah, you know, we were big, jackass guys growing up.
Drinking,
grew up in that era. And I fell asleep on his couch, first going to fall asleep that night. And his dad was a big hunting guy, so he had, training hunting dogs with shot collars.
No, we're not going to draw things on your face. We're going to shock you with a shot collar.
Right, and I would have to say that was alarming and terrifying.
To wake up to, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening.
I think it might be easier if I'm conscious when it happens, so I'm not that worried about it. But we will do it. I promise. If we can get 500, I'll do it. But, that shows you how much confidence I have in myself and my broadcasting ability to bring 21 subscribers in this evening. But yeah, tune in, man. It's going to be a good card. If you don't want to pay the $80, find somewhere to steal it. If you don't want to do that, just tune in because it's going to be good content. You know what I mean? And what we're going to have Alexis coming in via the internet. So he'll be in. Joey's going to be in studio. My buddy Marcus is supposed to be here. His kid's sick, though, and this is a not well-ventilated room, so I'm going to call him and be like, hey, don't be bringing your germs over here. So give or take, we're going to have 3 or 4 guys up in here just shooting the shit, eating some tacos, watching UFC, having a good time, making bets. I've already made all the Bungalow Fight Night related bets. I made them last night.
Yeah.
But obviously, as you know, Ashton, I will be making panic bets, and you can panic bet right along with me as we go.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to do that. I'm in a state that currently doesn't allow sports gambling, so we'll work around that.
Me too. It's
always
very
iffy. Yeah.
Yeah,
sketchy.
You gotta cash everything out in Bitcoin. But we'll figure that out later. We got to win the money first and then figure out how to get it in your actual bank account.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and notifications so you know when we go live tonight.
Heck yeah.
That UFC Fight Night Live, whatever he called it. Bungalow Fight Night Live.
Yeah. Everything's got to be branded with the Bungalow, dude.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, tune in next time. We'll see if Cole jumps on next week with us. It'll be a surprise.
Hey, man, I'm ready, dude. I don't do anything at 4:30 in the morning on Saturdays. So.
Thanks for listening, guys. See you later.